Have you ever wondered why some people stay calm even when their world seems to be falling apart? It's not because they have fewer problems. It's because they've discovered something that completely changes the way they face them. In a world where anxiety, stress, and uncertainty are at an all-time high, many people keep chasing success, money, or approval, hoping those things will finally bring peace. But what if they've been searching in the wrong place all along? Here's a thought that might surprise you. The biggest breakthrough in your life may not come from working harder, planning better, or trying to control every outcome. It may begin the moment you decide to put God first. That sounds simple, yet it's one of the most life-changing decisions a person can make. When God becomes the foundation instead of the last resort, everything starts to shift. Your mindset, your relationships, your emotional health, your well-being, and even the way you handle everyday challenges. Maybe you've been carrying burdens no one else knows about. You smile on the outside, but inside you're exhausted from worrying about your future, your family, your finances, or your health. Maybe you've prayed before, but wondered if God was really listening. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people struggle with the same questions every day, and many never realize that peace isn't found when life becomes perfect. It's found when your trust has the right foundation. In this video, you'll discover why putting God first changes your entire perspective, how trusting His timing replaces anxiety with confidence, how faith breaks the chains of fear, the simple daily habits that keep God at the center of your life, and why surrender often unlocks blessings you never imagined possible. By the end of this video, you'll understand how one decision can transform not only your faith, but also your peace, your purpose, and the way you live every single day. Putting God first doesn't magically erase life's problems, but it completely changes the way a person looks at them. The same obstacle that once felt impossible can become an opportunity to grow, build resilience, and strengthen emotional health. Instead of reacting with panic, they begin responding with faith, wisdom, and a sense of balance that influences every area of life. Research consistently shows that people with an active spiritual life often report lower stress levels, greater well-being, improved sleep, and a stronger sense of purpose. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but once it starts, it changes everything. Imagine two people losing the exact same job on the exact same day. One immediately assumes life is falling apart, while the other chooses to pray, reflect, and trust that God may be redirecting them towards something greater. The situation is identical, but the perspective is completely different. That difference often leads to healthier decisions, reduced anxiety, better relationships, and even better physical health, because chronic stress has been linked to cardiovascular health issues and weakened immunity. Faith doesn't deny reality, it changes the lens through which reality is viewed. Putting God first also changes the small moments most people overlook. Morning routines become opportunities for gratitude instead of rushing. Difficult conversations become chances to practice patience instead of anger. Even everyday habits like eating a balanced diet, practicing self-care, taking a walk, or spending a few quiet minutes in prayer begin to support both healthy living and mental health. Little by little, those consistent choices create a stronger foundation than chasing temporary happiness ever could. It's often the quiet daily decisions, not the dramatic moments, that completely reshape a person's future. Here's what surprises most people. The greatest transformation usually begins long before circumstances change. God often changes the heart before changing the situation, allowing someone to develop peace while they're still waiting for answers. That kind of confidence can't be bought, copied, or manufactured through positive thinking alone. And once someone begins experiencing that inner peace, an even bigger question naturally appears. If trusting God changes perspective this much, what happens when they begin trusting His timing instead of their own? That's exactly where the next step becomes life-changing. One of the hardest lessons a person can learn is that God's timing rarely matches human expectations. People want answers immediately, opportunities right away, and results as fast as possible. But faith teaches that waiting is not the same as being abandoned. Many of the strongest individuals in history developed patience, emotional health, and resilience during seasons when nothing seemed to be happening. What looked like a delay was often preparation, and that preparation protected them from choices they would later regret. Think about someone who has been praying for a new job, a restored relationship, or financial stability. After weeks or months without visible progress, anxiety begins whispering that nothing will ever change. Yet many times, the opportunity that finally arrives is far better than the one they would have accepted out of fear. Studies on stress reduction show that uncertainty becomes more manageable when people focus on what they can control. Daily habits, healthy living, self-care, physical exercise, and a balanced diet, while releasing what they cannot. Trusting God's timing doesn't mean doing nothing. It means moving forward without letting worry make the decisions. A practical way to develop this trust is through intentional daily reflection. Instead of constantly asking, "Why hasn't this happened yet?" a person can ask, "What is God teaching me while I wait?" Keeping a journal of answered prayers, moments of protection, unexpected opportunities, and personal growth can completely change perspective. Many people are shocked when they look back and realize that some of their greatest blessings came after periods of waiting. That realization strengthens well-being, reduces emotional exhaustion, and builds a deeper sense of confidence in God's plan. What makes this so powerful is that patience gradually weakens the grip of fear. The person who once panicked over every uncertain outcome begins sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and approaching life with greater balance. They start noticing that God has been faithful in small ways long before the bigger breakthrough arrives. And once fear begins losing its control, another transformation becomes possible. One that affects every decision, every relationship, and every challenge ahead. In the next step, the focus shifts to how putting God first helps a person break free from fear itself. Fear has a way of making small problems look enormous. It convinces people to expect the worst, question every decision, and imagine outcomes that may never happen. But when God is placed first, fear slowly loses the power to control the mind. Faith doesn't remove uncertainty. It replaces panic with confidence. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" a person begins asking, "What if God is already working behind the scenes?" That single shift can transform mental health, improve emotional resilience, and create a deeper sense of peace. Think about someone who has to make a major life decision, starting a new career, moving to another city, or stepping into a calling that feels overwhelming. Fear immediately lists every reason to stay comfortable, while faith quietly reminds them of every obstacle God has already helped them overcome. Psychologists have found that chronic fear can raise stress hormones, weaken immunity, and even affect cardiovascular health over time. But people who regularly practice prayer, gratitude, mindfulness, and trust often experience greater stress reduction and improved sleep. Faith isn't just spiritually strengthening. It can positively influence overall well-being too. Breaking free from fear also requires action. One practical habit is replacing fearful thoughts with God's promises every single day. Instead of scrolling through endless bad news first thing in the morning, spend 10 minutes reading passages like Isaiah 41 verse 10, Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, or Psalm 23. Pair that with a short walk, physical exercise, a balanced diet, and intentional self-care. These simple routines help create an active lifestyle that supports both healthy living and a calmer mind. Over time, those daily choices train the brain to respond with trust instead of anxiety. The most incredible part is that courage doesn't usually appear before the first step. It grows because of it. Every time someone chooses faith over fear, their confidence becomes a little stronger and their perspective a little clearer. Eventually, they realize that God never asked them to carry every burden alone. And once that truth settles into the heart, a new question naturally emerges. How can someone keep that faith strong every single day instead of only during difficult moments? That's exactly what comes next. Keeping God at the center of life isn't about waiting for extraordinary spiritual moments. It's built through ordinary habits repeated day after day. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body and a balanced diet supports healthy living, consistent spiritual practices strengthen faith over time. A few intentional minutes each morning can shape the next 16 hours in ways most people never expect. Small routines, repeated consistently, often produce bigger life changes than occasional bursts of motivation. One simple habit is starting the day before reaching for a phone. Instead of opening social media or checking emails, spend 5 to 10 minutes in prayer and read a short passage from Scripture. Books like Proverbs offer practical wisdom for everyday decisions, while the Gospels reveal the heart of Jesus through real-life situations. Writing down 3 things to thank God for each morning also helps shift attention away from stress and toward gratitude. Over weeks and months, this practice can improve emotional health, encourage mindfulness, and create a lasting sense of well-being. Another powerful habit is inviting God into everyday choices, not just major crises. Before a meeting, a difficult conversation, or an important purchase, pause for a brief prayer asking for wisdom. During moments of frustration, take a slow breath instead of reacting immediately. Combine those moments with self-care, regular physical exercise, preventive medicine, and healthy routines that support both body and mind. When faith becomes part of daily life instead of a once-a-week activity, peace starts becoming the default response instead of the exception. What surprises many people is that these habits don't just change the way they think, they begin changing the opportunities they notice. Doors that once seemed invisible suddenly appear because their perspective has shifted. Relationships become healthier, decisions become clearer, and unexpected blessings often arrive when least expected. But there's one final lesson that ties everything together, and it's the one many people resist the most. What happens when a person stops trying to control everything and completely surrenders the outcome to God? That answer changes lives. Surrender is often misunderstood. Many people think it means giving up, becoming passive, or simply hoping things work out. But biblical surrender is the exact opposite. It means trusting God enough to obey even when the entire picture isn't visible. Instead of carrying every burden alone, a person chooses to place it in God's hands while continuing to move forward with faith. That decision creates room for peace, strengthens mental health, and brings a sense of balance that no amount of control can ever provide. Some of life's greatest blessings arrive disguised as disappointments. A closed door may protect someone from the wrong relationship. A delayed opportunity may prepare them for something far greater than they originally imagined. Countless people can look back and recognize moments that felt heartbreaking at the time, but later became turning points that changed everything. Even researchers have found that people who practice gratitude, forgiveness, and strong spiritual beliefs often experience better emotional health, lower stress levels, improved sleep, and greater overall well-being. God's plan is often working long before anyone can see the results. Living with surrender also changes everyday decisions. Instead of obsessing over every outcome, a person focuses on what God has placed in front of them today. They continue practicing self-care, maintaining an active lifestyle, making wise financial choices, serving others, and taking care of their bodies through nutrition, preventive medicine, and physical exercise. They understand that faith never excuses responsibility, it gives purpose to it. Day after day, these seemingly ordinary choices become the foundation for extraordinary transformation. Perhaps the greatest blessing of putting God first isn't that life suddenly becomes easy. It's that life gains a new direction, a deeper purpose, and a lasting peace that remains even when circumstances don't immediately change. Fear no longer has the final word. Anxiety no longer controls every decision. Hope becomes stronger than uncertainty because trust has replaced control. And when someone reaches that point, they realize that putting God first didn't just change one area of life, it changed everything. If there's one thing to remember from today, it's this. Putting God first isn't about becoming perfect. It's about choosing the right direction every single day. Every prayer, every act of faith, every moment of trust, and every step of obedience builds a stronger foundation for your future. Over time, those small decisions lead to greater peace, stronger emotional health, a deeper sense of well-being, and a life filled with purpose that no circumstance can take away. Take a moment and ask yourself, what's one area of your life that you've been trying to control instead of trusting God with? What fear, worry, or burden are you ready to surrender today? Real change begins with one decision, and that decision can start right now. Don't wait for the perfect moment. God can work through the step you choose to take today. Remember how overwhelming life felt when anxiety, uncertainty, and fear seemed to control everything? Now you've seen that peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from putting God first and trusting that His plan is greater than anything you could design on your own. As you continue building healthy habits, caring for your well-being, strengthening your faith, and walking with God each day, you'll discover that the greatest transformation happens from the inside out. If this message encouraged you, let us know in the comments. What does putting God first mean in your life? Your story could inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. And if you want more practical, faith-filled insights that can transform your life, your well-being, and your future, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss tips that could transform your life and health forever. Thank you for watching. And remember, when God comes first, everything changes.